Hey guys, coming at you today with another follow along video to one of the recipes that kind of started me on the path to very fluffy and bready like keto baked goods, including my cinnamon roll recipe. So this has went a couple years ago up until now. I have used this base recipe to figure out tons of delicious baked goods. So today we're going to be following along to my keto sour cream coffee cake. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alicia and I'm a pastry chef and a mom to a toddler with a sweet tooth. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto desserts possible, but also how to feed the family as healthy as possible. So if you enjoyed these recipes and this content, please hit the subscribe button down there, leave me comments, share with all your friends and family. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new videos every Saturday. Today we're making my sour cream coffee cake, and this is a recipe that I am pretty familiar with just because I use it to make my keto cream cheese Danish recipe, and I make tons of it to sell because it's one of my best sellers. But that video wasn't my best work. I actually messed up in the video, I remember. So I thought I'd redo it here. And I am working on shipping, and that is one of the things I'm going to be shipping. So I need to get the weight on it in the box, cut up and everything, so that I know how much it weighs so that I can ship it. So a lot of reasons I'm making this today. So let's get on to watching my video and following along. Hey guys, coming at you today with a delicious, soft, keto, sour cream crumble coffee cake. Perfect for Christmas morning. So let's get started. So that clip there was actually another day because I remade the coffee cake because I had messed up in the video, and I wanted to show the actual texture of it because the one in the video didn't look as pretty. Today, a delicious, soft, like when I tell you this tastes like a regular coffee cake, I am not kidding. Figured it out yesterday before I went to work. I finished it. I had to wrap it up and go to work, and I tried it when I got home, and it was like a regular coffee cake. It was so soft and moist and delicious with a crispy crumble topping. It was amazing. And it's very similar to my pumpkin muffin recipe. If you have tried that, I'll link it up there for you if you haven't. There's no cream cheese in this, there is. So this recipe kind of spun off of when I figured out, I think the first bread I figured out that I thought was like amazing, soft, moist, and delicious was my keto pumpkin bread. And then I made pumpkin muffins after that with that same kind of recipe. This wasn't quite the first one, but it was definitely one in the long line of things that I figured out after this. A cinnamon sugar layer instead, but it is very similar. I just cut back an egg so it wasn't as eggy. Everything else is pretty much the same. I have my eggs soaking in warm water because that's like the longest part of this, is that you want your eggs and your sweetener to be really fluffy, like light, airy, pale yellow, and it can take a long time if your eggs are not warm. Like even room temperature eggs take a while to actually whip up to that consistency. So I'm gonna do the rest of this because I can't talk while the mixer's going, but you can do all this stuff while your mixer is running and it'll save you a lot of time. Okay, so I do have my eggs out. They've been out since like 9 this morning because I've been baking all day. So I do have my eggs out, but I actually stopped whipping it so much because it ends up getting really high and then falling. So it still falls, but you don't get that really high edge on it if you don't whip it as much. The volume you get in the eggs doesn't last when you bake it. So I already weighed out all my ingredients. This is 80 grams of... Okay, so I put the ingredients up on the screen, so I guess I'm gonna do that first because, again, I can't talk while this is whipping, so that's why I'm talking about the dry ingredients now. So I might as well do the dry ingredients along with my video. 30 grams of coconut flour. I'm almost out of everything, I think. Oh, I had enough coconut flour still. This is my favorite coconut flour. If you don't like coconut, I hate coconut. This tastes the least like coconut out of any coconut flour I've ever tried, especially Bob's Red Mill. That stuff is so coconutty. This isn't, and it's the cheapest. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. This baking powder is really clumpy. So, should be 10 grams. And this one this one has potato starch instead of cornstarch. It's not the double acting, and it's aluminum free too. And then 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Since that video, if you've seen any of my recent videos, you know that my xanthan gum is pretty much twice as strong now. So I'm only gonna do a half teaspoon of xanthan gum. The only reason I know this is because like recipes I make all the time, like my cream cheese Danish, I had to up the xanthan gum in it in order to get my cream cheese to stay like above the batter. Well, if I put 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum in my cream cheese Danish now, it is so gloopy and thick, I can't even spread it out. So I know for a fact that the xanthan gum has changed. So all xanthan gums seem to be different now, and it's really frustrating. This one that I'm using is Anthony's. So far, it has worked as doing half the amount of xanthan gum for my recipes. It's very frustrating because then you figure out new recipes and then you got to tell people, well, if your xanthan gum isn't strong enough, you got to use more. It's like keto ingredients are just really annoying. It makes it a lot more difficult to do my job that I'm trying to do here. I don't usually sift my whey protein, so I just sifted the stuff that usually has clumps in it. People always ask me about trying new ingredients and stuff, and I do buy some and then I never end up using it because I like having my core group of ingredients that you can make all my recipes with. So I hate adding new ones to my recipes. So almost every single one of my recipes on my channel, which is like over 200, uses the same core ingredients. And I know whey protein isolate is expensive, but what I do is I subscribe and save on Amazon for this, and it brings it down a lot in cost. Like I think it's $63 for a tub instead of $70. And you can skip it when you don't need it. Like every month you go on, you set up your subscriptions, you skip if you don't need it. That's what I do with this. That's what I do with my sweeteners. It brings the cost down a lot. If you know you're gonna be baking with the same ingredients, you end up saving money. And that's why I don't like adding a lot of ingredients to my recipe. So that was 80 grams of the whey protein into a bowl and whisk it all up. A little trick if you don't want flour all over your kitchen and you have a small bowl, pick it up and shake it. You can also go in there with your hand and get it through the sifter. But this is a really small, fine sifter, so it's really hard to get it all to go through. I already have my oven preheated to 325 because we're just gonna throw this all together and get it in the oven. Okay, so oven preheated to 325. I already have 1 cup of sour cream weighed out, or 8 ounces. This should be room temperature also. And then you're gonna need a stick of melted butter, which I'm gonna melt a stick and make the crumble while that's whipping, and then melt another stick to pour into our eggs and sweetener that we're mixing. I have 144 grams of classic granular monk fruit. That's about 3/4 of a cup. Okay, so I gotta get my 8 ounces of cream cheese. Sorry, 8 ounces of sour cream, which this is all I have left, so I might need to run upstairs and grab some sour cream. But I have run out of sour cream before in recipes and just added a little bit of like unsweetened milk, and it has worked. Okay, 8 ounces of sour cream. I also said 144 grams of classic monk fruit sweetener. I have found out since then, ooh, don't run away, eggs. I was always calling it monk fruit sweetener, but it is erythritol based with monk fruit added. It's such bad advertising. I'm sure they do it on purpose, but it just sucks that like everyone thinks it's monk fruit, but really it's not, because pure monk fruit is really sweet. It's erythritol with monk fruit to make it a 1-for-1 with sugar. So 3/4 of a cup, or 144 grams. Got that. I'm gonna put that in there with my eggs. And then the only other thing is a tablespoon of vanilla extract, which I did do one with maple. You can do almond, you can do any extract you like. I'm gonna crack my 5 eggs in there. It's so funny because I said it in the beginning of the video that I minused an egg in the recipe, and then I still went and put 5 eggs instead of 4 eggs. I don't know how I messed that up, but cracking my eggs in. I do this now just in case you get shells, or God forbid you have a bad egg. You won't waste all your sweetener. Stuff's not cheap, so you do whatever you can to make sure you don't waste any of it. And then try to minimize dishes. When I have these kinds of videos, I used to, you know, measure everything out ahead of time, so I used a lot of dishes. But I'm gonna use the same cup I did the eggs in, measure out a tablespoon of vanilla, have it ready to go. See what's next. Oh, no shells. Heard that. Like I said, while that's whipping, I'm gonna make my crumble, which is the exact same crumble as my pumpkin muffin recipe. So I'm just gonna speed through that. I'll probably put some captions up, but pretty simple. So I'd whip this. It usually takes about 8 minutes if your eggs are actually warmer than room temperature. Okay, so now I'm just making the crumble topping. So this was in my pumpkin muffin recipe, but it originated in my strawberry rhubarb crisp, and it is a 0 carb crumble. So you can literally put as much as you want or as little as you want of this on your coffee cake. I made this in an 8x8 before. I'm gonna make it in a 9x13 and see how it turns out, because I feel like it'll look nicer than in the 8x8 because it gets really tall. So I'm gonna make extra crumble. Okay, so I put the ingredients up there. I guess this is where I started putting ingredients on. I'm gonna do 1.5 times the crumble for this. So that is 45 of the whey. I did do a mixed berry crisp crumble, whatever you want to call it, where I tried using bamboo fiber instead of the oat fiber, and it does work. I just didn't prefer the mouthfeel, I guess it is, with the bamboo fiber. It's like so fine, but then when you put it in things, I find it gets grainy somehow. I don't know why or how, but that's what I've found. So equal parts of oat fiber, 45. And then it was 6 tablespoons of golden monk fruit erythritol blend. I'm gonna do, what did I figure out? 36 plus 72, 108. Okay, so that is most of the crumble, and then it is a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm gonna do 3/4 of a teaspoon. Now I'm just doing this because we're making a bigger pan, and I wanna make sure there's enough crumble to coat the top of the entire 9x13. 3/4. This whole time your mixer can be running too. But like I said, I don't make it so that it's super light and fluffy anymore. I just make sure that the granular is pretty much dissolved in there. You don't want it too grainy, because then you'll end up having grainy mouthfeel in your baked good. I don't usually sift this anymore just because we're making a crumble, which you want clumpy anyways, so usually I just whisk it all together. None of my sifters seem to be big enough to get most of the stuff through anyways. So whisk that together. I'm making a mess. Oh, I also need to get my 1 stick of butter too. I mentioned that earlier, which I've already made a Danish, so I'm just gonna use the same container. You can see it back there. Okay, I'm gonna melt this real quick and then we'll move on. Okay, we got our butter. Mix it up and it'll melt the rest of the way. Let's see. Okay, as you saw there, I made my crumble and I lined it. Okay, so I already made my crumble. I have found out that not all oat fibers absorb the same amount of liquid, so I don't always add a whole stick of butter in anymore. And while that's going, I'm supposed to be mixing my eggs and sweetener, so I'm gonna get that going. Okay, so I forgot that I was making a 1.5 times batch. So 1 stick of butter was actually the right amount for 1.5 times batch of crumble. It used to be 1 stick, 4 ounces of butter for 1 batch of my crumble worked. Now, not so much. 3/4 of a stick per batch of oat crumble. At least for me. If you get different kinds of oat fiber, they may be different. This is New Naturals brand. It's the cheapest one that I can find, and it's a brand I trust. So that's ready to go. I'm gonna keep whipping my eggs and sweetener, and I'm gonna get 1 more stick of butter melted to pour into our coffee cake. By 8 baking dish. I sprayed it. I cut a piece of parchment just to have it on 2 sides. Just makes it easier in the long run. And then I just have 2 tablespoons of granular golden monk fruit sweetener and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Then I'm gonna mix. That is our middle cinnamon and sugar layer. Now it's time to finish the batter, which is super easy. You stream in a stick of melted butter, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and then you add in your 1 cup of sour cream, and then your dry ingredients. Okay, 2 tablespoons of golden with 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'll get that now. Back in the day, I used to use the Keto golden monk fruit erythritol blend, and it looks a lot different than this, which is Duralife. It's a lot finer and a lot lighter in color than the Duralife. And I think it does make a difference. Is it enough for me to spend the extra money? No, but that's because I have a bakery and I'm trying to make profit, obviously, and I don't want to charge my customers too much either. So if money's not a problem for you, Keto definitely is the best granular monk fruit erythritol blend if that's what you're looking for. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now with me making it in a 9x13, I'm wondering if I'm gonna need more cinnamon sugar, but we'll see. Okay. Just give it a scrape down after you add in your sour cream, just to make sure it all gets in there. Okay, I'm gonna do it. And then just add in your sifted, whisked dry ingredients. Definitely want to scrape down a couple times. To get most of the batter off, I turn it up high and slowly lift it. Just don't lift it too high because you'll fling batter all over the kitchen, which I've done many a time. But easier than trying to get all of the batter off. It looks a little thin to begin with, but as it sits, that coconut flour will thicken it up. Get him out of the way. Get our crumble. I don't think we mixed him enough either. Get him nice and mixed in there. We're gonna spoon about half the batter. I always say go on the less side on the bottom layer, because if the cinnamon sugar is too high in the pan, it all like comes up on you. I tried this a couple different ways. So apparently this is where I turned a new leaf on my videos. Christmas time, I'm guessing this was 2021. It says 2 years ago, but this was definitely before I was married. So, I don't know, sometimes those don't always add up when they say how many years it's been. They'll probably round to 3 years come December time when it has actually been 3 years. I was definitely down to my goal weight here, but am I also engaged? I haven't looked at my ring finger. This might be right after we got engaged. Okay. I also tried like swirling in the cinnamon and sugar, and that made it just go crazy. Like having a little bit of the batter showing like pushed the cinnamon and sugar up to the top, and it looked all weird and didn't bake right. Show you how I did it so that it comes out perfect. Get your batter all the way to the edge and sprinkle your cinnamon sugar. Full coverage. Once you're fully covered, you might have a little bit left. You can put that on top. Now this, you want to make sure you get it all the way around. That way none of the batter comes up. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do about half the batter, but obviously I'm gonna try to go less because that's what it said in the video, which that does help it from rising out of the batter. You don't want it too close to the top of your batter. A tiny bit more. There's only a half teaspoon of xanthan gum and it's like super thick. Okay, nice even layer. Tiny bit more right here. If I were to have put a whole teaspoon of xanthan gum in there, it would have been so thick I wouldn't have even been able to spread it. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1 more tablespoon of sweetener and a half teaspoon of cinnamon just to finish a nice layer on top. I'm gonna use my hands because it's easier to direct it with my hands than with the measuring cup. Okay, that looks good. Now we're going around the edge with the rest of the batter and make it even. Up on you. You want to like start over here. Layer it on. That'll give you a nice defined line in your coffee cake. You don't want to move it around too much until you got it completely covered. That way the batter underneath doesn't move at all while you're spreading out the top layer. Keto baked goods are very particular. They do weird things if you don't get them in there right. That out nice and evenly. This is a very big coffee cake. You could probably do this in a 9x9, no problem. 9x13 might be a little thin, but this makes a big coffee cake. Like, I was just talking about doing it in a 9x13, so that's what I'm doing now. I'll do the test so you don't have to. Probably a 9x9 would probably be like the best option. I don't have a 9x9. I only have an 8x8, so that's why we're doing this. Get all the batter we can out of there. Still might have done too much on the bottom. But it looks pretty good. Just have a couple spots that's a little bit see-through, but it's pretty even. Okay, let's see what's next. Let's see how long I bake it for. I was trying to figure out how many slices to slice this into, and like the typical 3x3 would give you 9 pieces. They're pretty big pieces though. So I think maybe like 4x3 give you 12. Sprinkle the rest of your cinnamon sugar on top. Then add your crumble. Nice and crumbly. Yeah. It looks so good and smells so good. Okay. Into the oven this goes for 55 minutes, I think it was. 25. Turn it 25 and then check it, and you might need like 5 more minutes. Coffee cake is out of the oven. It was 55 minutes. Okay, so obviously we are not baking it that long because we are doing a thinner coffee cake. So 25, 25. I'm gonna do 15, 15, but I'm gonna check it after like the second 15, probably at like 10. So it would be 25 minutes I'm gonna check it at, just to make sure it doesn't get too done. The biggest thing with keto baked goods, especially my like really bready, soft, moist baked goods, is not over baking them, because when you over bake them, that's when they get dried out. So you want to bake it the least amount possible in order to get it completely done in the center. So I'm gonna throw this in, set a timer for 15 minutes, and then we'll turn it, and I'll set it for another 15, but I'll check it at 10. And the coffee cake is out and it looks horrible. Throwing this into the oven. Okay, it is almost done. So I think I'm gonna pull it here in just a couple seconds. It's looking not jiggly anymore and getting golden brown on top, so I think it's almost done. Okay, that was 30 seconds shy of another 10 minutes. So I'm pretty sure it's done. It's not jiggly or anything in the middle. It's soft, but not gooey. So I think we're gonna call it there. We gotta let this cool for a while. Let's see what I have to say in the video. You want it still really soft in the middle. You don't want to over bake it. It did the same thing it did to me like, I don't know, 3 tests ago. This has to cool to about room temperature before we can slice into it. It is best at room temperature. So we're gonna set this aside and we'll be back in a while to try it. Just kidding. This is not what a finished keto coffee cake looks like because I added too many eggs. I will be inserting a clip of the real coffee cake here. Yeah, so I literally remade it, but with whipping up the eggs that much, that's what happens. Like the outside blooms up from the egg whip, but then the middle ends up sinking. So that's why I stopped whipping the eggs until they were like double in volume, because it ended up making like an edge on the side of the cake. And feels and tastes just like regular coffee cake. So soft and moist, crispy topping on top. This piece is a little less than a 1/9 of the coffee cake. The 1/12 of it is 1.8 net carbs. We're gonna let this cool and I'm gonna slice it into 12 slices, and we'll try this after I weigh it so I know what to put into my shipping manager. Okay, it's been a while. It is still a little bit warm to the touch, but I need to get this shot before my babe comes home. It's definitely very crispy on top. I was debating on adding icing to the top of this, like my cream cheese Danish. Let me know in the comments below if you think I should have icing on it. Not sure if I slice into it in the video. We might watch the rest of that while I'm slicing. So I'm sorry about this coffee cake, but this one is perfect. It's so soft. So I'll be inserting some clips of a coffee cake, but it turned out amazing. I would literally have the entire coffee cake today if I didn't send all of it to work with my boyfriend. I'm like, I'm gonna have a whole nother one tomorrow. Take the whole thing. Figures I mess up. Yeah. The coffee cake itself isn't super sweet, but the crumble topping is sweet. And then you got the cinnamon and Canto Golden in the middle. This is the perfect addition to a cup of coffee in the morning. Great for a Christmas morning. Your whole family will enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe, even though I screwed it up. So that was the end of the video. It is super soft and fluffy. It is best warm or room temperature for sure. Definitely gotta take some pictures, package this up. One of the hardest things with shipping is knowing how to ship things. Like, I'm debating on, I initially was gonna do like 9x13 pans, but then I need a different size box. And the bigger the box, the more it costs to ship. So it's like trade-off of, you know, packaging it differently and stuff like that. It's a lot to figure out. I am shipping right now to 10 states. I'll list them below. Right now I have figured out my bread and what boxes to ship my bread in. That's it for right now, but I wonder if I should individually package these instead of putting them all in a box. Everything freezes great because there's so much fat content because it's keto that it freezes great and defrosts and tastes pretty much the same. So they could easily buy this and freeze it themselves, but then I was thinking maybe I should package them in like individual containers, ready to freeze kind of thing. I don't know. So let me know what you think down below. I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna package this up real quick, weigh it, and then we'll come back to try it. Figures that was a bigger pain than I thought it'd be. I don't have the right size box for 12 pieces. 11 fits great. 12, it's smushed. So another problem, but beautiful coffee cake. Super soft and moist. Crispy, crunchy top. Just as good as I remember, if not better. I like it better in the 9x13. I always forget how good it is because I don't get to eat my baked goods very often, except for in these videos. I'm definitely gonna be enjoying these. They're so good. So I hope you guys enjoy this little follow along recipe video and that you learned something new. And I'm excited to start this journey of shipping, and I hope you guys are excited too. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me comments. Don't forget to check out the Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I'll be back with more videos. Bye guys. Happy baking!